What's up, guys? Kamikaze Fox coming to you from the SRL Season 3 F1 2017 on the PS4 platform, and I am back from the brink. I have missed the last couple of races, unfortunately, due to some family matters and some illness. The last round I was involved in was Japan, so unfortunately I missed Russia and Monaco. But we are here for round 19 of this very exciting season, and lots of things to get caught up on, lots of things to talk about. But the talk of the day is going to be that gentleman right there in the Red Bull. That is Kamikaze. That is Bart Catalda, and he is here to lock up this championship for F1 2017 on the PS4 platform. Championship contenders Killian Brady, as we know, has not raced for the latter part of this season in the second half. I believe he finished after round 12 or 13. Kamikaze, Bart Catalda, has managed to catch him in points. He's actually tied as of today with Killian Brady at 223 points. Even if he doesn't score a point today, the championship ultimately would still go to Catalda because he's got more wins than Killian Brady. The other person in that championship hunt was Francis McGinn, who put on a very stellar first half of this year, finishing second 3 times in the first half of the races. Then he went a little mundane in the middle section of the year, and then picked it up here in the last half of it. He's managed to get 2 wins. He's closed his championship points gap within 34 points of Catalda. However, that being said, even if Catalda scores pole position and gets the point for that, that will mathematically put Francis McGinn out of contention, since McGinn is not racing today, unfortunately. So Catalda can pretty much lock this up at the end of the race, or even lock it up at the end of the qualifying session here, as you've got some guys out on their out laps. So 12-minute qualifying session. We're down to 9:30 on it already. Nobody's managed to put in a time yet, but we're going to take a look here at Catalda as he starts his first flying lap of the race. In other news, the last few races have been dominated. Oh, and Catalda's back end kicks out there. As we continue to watch his flying lap, in other news, the last few races have been dominated by Yannick Verpetten. If you've been watching the SRL throughout this season, Verpetten, for the most part, was a mid-pack driver, fairly solid driver. Didn't have a whole lot of DNFs, but never really set the world on fire. And then back at round 15, he suddenly found some pace. He set the pole at Singapore. Big lockup from Catalda there. He went on to dominate that race and ultimately would have won if it wasn't for a 10-second penalty that he received on the last lap of the Singapore Grand Prix. And we chalked it up to what was a fluke. The championship contenders, there was no Francis McGinn, there was no Bart Catalda, there was no Killian Brady. That race, it was wet weather conditions, and it was nice to see somebody else take the win, as Renee Vanderstappen picked up his first win of the year back in round 15 in Singapore. But continuing on from there, round 16 again, Yannick went back-to-back with pole positions. He ended up winning the race. And again, round 17 in Russia, he went 3 for 3 with pole positions, as Catalda has now spun the car. And it looks like he is really struggling for grip. So Yannick picked up 3 pole positions in a row. And he ended up getting 1 win and 4 podiums in that time. However, after a 4-person panel did some investigating into Yannick Verpetten's sudden upscale in pace, we have determined that he violated probably the most important rule of online gaming, and that is to drive yourself. I have reason to believe, after the investigation, the 4-person panel has suspended him for the next 12 months from any SRL competitions. Oh, and there's contact there between Catalda and one of the Sahara Force Indias, and that is disappointing. That was probably, I want to say, Louis Quinlan. No, it was not Quinlan. Oh, that would have been Joe Marusic. So he's lost his front ring, and that was, oh, and he's into the wall again. And it looks like Uri's probably going to call this quits. There's still plenty of time for him to get back to the pits, do a wing change, fix the car, and put in a lap. He's currently 4th quickest as he struggles to get back around the track here. Catalda struggling, 5th fastest so far as Nick Van Gelder has gone to the top. And just real quick to get back to the Repentance saga, again, he had reason to believe that he was not driving himself in those races. His driving style had changed. Suddenly found a lot of pace that he'd never shown before. He's been racing in SRL for quite some time. So they have suspended him for the next 12 months for any SRL competition, which means we will not see Yannick in F1 2018. So let's get back to the action here. 5:45 left to play in the qualifying session as Catalda has now jumped to 2nd fastest with a 1:38.0. Nick Van Gelder is your pole sitter as of right now with a 1:37.966. Sandro Dulis is back in the pits. He's 3rd fastest. Louis Quinlan is back out on the track with a new front wing after being taken out by Catalda. I'm sorry, that was not Quinlan. That was Jure Marusic is the one that's in the pits. He was the one that was taken out by Catalda. Dion Stahl, Lewis Marshall, Rene Vanderstapp, and Cameron Weston Edwards, who is on an outlap, have yet to set a time. Jesper Lampinen checking in on the live chat. I want to say congratulations to Jesper, by the way, as he picked up his first win of his SRL career, round 18 last time out of Monaco. So if you're only going to win one race, it might as well be Monaco. But congratulations to him. Jesper showed some pace earlier in the year when he scored a pole position back at Monza after he had recently joined. That was actually round 7, and that was he had recently joined SRL, so scored a pole there. Got his first win in round 18 Monaco, so congratulations to him. We continue to watch Cameron Weston Edwards here. Looks like a lot of the cars are struggling for grip out there. Still got a couple of guys have yet to settle out. Lewis Marshall is now on his outlap as we see Weston Edwards come across the line to start his fast lap. Nick Van Gelder is still your proverbial pole sitter. Catalda is in the pits. Rene Vanderstapp has worked his way up to 3rd. Sandro 4th. Louis Quinlan 5th. Jure Marusic, even with that wing damage, has managed to set a 6th fastest time. Unfortunately, only 9 drivers today for round 19 of this SRL season. And it looks like we've got another car pulling off to the side. Blue flags waving. Edwards, he runs wide and blows that corner. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. He's out on the ultra softs. Another run's just a little wide there. And again, runs a little wide through that corner. He's going to come across the line. And his time has not posted, unfortunately, on timing and scoring. So 2:15 left to play, so hot laps are going to be becoming a much needed thing here for some of these guys. Looks like Catalda is now on his outlap. He's just left the pit, so he's going to give it a one more shot. Oh, and look at this. Lewis Marshall jumps to the top of the charts. 1:37.3, 0.6 of a second faster than Nick Van Gelder's time. So very impressive lap put up by Lewis Marshall. That's going to drop Cataldo down to third. So realistically, with Bart Cataldo racing today, Francis McGinn is not, and there's only 9 drivers in today's race. Cataldo could have a DNF today, still score 2 points, and that would ultimately lock up the championship. So really, he just needs to start the race. So as long as he doesn't have a disconnect here in the last minute of qualifying, and I hate to give him the commentator's curse, but you never know what'll happen. There's Lewis Marshall, your pole sitter. Nick Van Gelder is on an out lap. 0.6 off of that very impressive time set by Lewis Marshall. Cataldo's going to come around and start his hot lap. 48 seconds left. We've got a caution in Sector 2, and it looks like that's Van Gelder, and he has crashed his car in Sector 2. So unfortunate for him. And now we've got a caution in Sector 2 and 3. We'll see if this affects Bart Cataldo's lap. As you see, looks like Cameron Weston-Edwards up there going off of the track. A little bit of a lock up there on the left front as he heads through that Huey. And Louis Quinlan has retired from the session. He's going to pull off. Guess he's happy with his time. Jump back on board with Cataldo down this long backstretch here. Hard on the brakes. Big lock up on that left front. You see it smoking. Time is up. Flying laps will count. Cameron Weston-Edwards, I'm sure the blue flag is waving. Sandro has retired from the session. He will ultimately be 5th fastest. As they head through the chicane, quick left-right exchange. And Edwards, I'm not sure if Edwards is on a fast lap or not. I would assume so. He hasn't posted a time. A little bit of a lock up there on that left front again. And Edwards, it could be a possibility of impeding his progress here. And Cataldo dives to the inside. Edwards wisely moves out of the way. He'll abort his lap. And here comes Cataldo across the line. The back end slides out. And Bart Cataldo jumps to the top of the charts on 137.035. He'll get the point for pole position and will ultimately win this championship for the SRL League F1 2017 on the PS4 platform. So the race hasn't even started. And Cataldo has locked up this championship. And Jesper had made a crack at Bart for playing too much Fortnite, but I think Jesper could put his foot in his mouth as Bart just shut everybody up with a 137 flat time and has won this championship. So the other drivers will be racing for pride today. There's your starting order. That's Bart Cataldo, Lewis Marshall, Nick Van Gelder, Renee van der Stapp, Sandro Dulius, Louis Quinlan, Jir Marusic, Dion Stahl, and Cameron Weston-Edwards, who did not set a time at all. We'll get ready for this race. Looks like there's a little bit of an overcast. Find that hard to believe in Abu Dhabi. They do, however, race under the lights here at the Yas Marina. So waiting for the players to reconnect. Race is getting ready to start. We'll do a reconnaissance lap and then we'll be off and running It'll be 28 laps for today's race. As Bart is not going to partake in the reconnaissance lap, but we'll take a quick look here at Catalda for the year. Catalda hasn't been racing since round 14. He's missed the last 4 races. His last race was round 14 at the Malaysian Grand Prix, where he picked up his 8th pole position of the year. Of course, now he has 9. Back at round 14, he also picked up his 7th win of the year, which ultimately tied him with Killian Brady for points, and it has stayed that way at 223 until today. So props to Bart Catalda as we take a look at the rest of the running order. Lewis Marshall driving the Petronas Mercedes. Nick Van Gelder in the factory Renault. Rene Vanderstappen, who did pick up his first win back at round 15 in Singapore. And again, that race was dominated by Yannick Verpetten. And just to touch on that real quick, something I forgot to mention earlier, not only is he suspended for the next 12 months, but Verpetten's points, much like Michael Schumacher in his 1997 saga, his points have been erased for the year and has been stripped from the record books. So nothing for Yannick Verpetten as far as this year. Team Haas will keep its points for the Constructors' Championship, so it will not affect Jesper Leppinen, Samuel Brantz as part of the Haas team. Sandro Dulius will be starting 5th. Louis Quinlan in the Sahara Force India 6th. Jo Marusic 7th. Dion Stahl 8th. And Cameron Weston Edwards will be bringing up the rear, unfortunately. And there's actually a really good championship points battle between Sandro Dulius and Cameron Weston Edwards for the 4th spot, as only a couple of points separate them. And those two have been going toe-to-toe a lot here lately in the past few weeks. And lights are out. Time to run what you brung as they make the run down toward turn 1. Catalda is off and running. And Van Gelder gets pushed wide out of turn 1. He's going to lose a couple spots there. Looks like Dulius is going toe-to-toe with one of the Sahara Force Indians. That's Louis Quinlan. Quinlan makes contact with Van Gelder. And it looks like Catalda has gone ghost. And it looks like he may have got an internet issue, so lucky for him it happened. Oh, and around goes Dulius. Oh, no. Looks like he had contact with possibly one of the Sahara Force Indians. I didn't manage to catch that as quickly as I wanted. And Bart Catalda has dropped off. He's gone ghost. Looks like he's had a disconnect issue. Lucky it happened for him during the race after he got the pole position. We'll take a look back up front at Lewis Marshall, who's already jumped out to a 1.5 second lead over his teammate Rene Vanderstappen. Right behind him is Nick Van Gelder. Cameron Weston Edwards, in all that melee, has managed to work his way up from dead last in 9th to 4th. Louis Quinlan with a strong start up to 5th. Dion Stahl 6th. Jo Marusic 7th. Catalda is now being passed by Sandro Dulius for 8th. And that will ultimately put Catalda dead last. We pick up this battle here. We've got another battle in the back for 4th. This is Louis Quinlan with Cameron Weston Edwards. They both power slide coming out of the corner. And now we've got a battle for 4th position here. Got a couple other people checking in on the live chat. We got Whip That Trick chiming in. Good to hear and see from him. As we watch this battle for 4th here. You got a battle for 4th, you've got a battle for 5th, you've got a battle for 2nd. Take a look up here real quick. This is the battle for 2nd. Nick Van Gelder in hot pursuit of Rene Vanderstappen. Lewis Marshall is your leader, and he's pulled out to a 2.3 second lead almost. As Van Gelder hold a big lockup on that left front as they came down the end of that straightaway. Big lockup. Louis Quinlan is all over the back of Cameron Weston Edwards. He power slides coming out of the corner. The back end kicks out. Looks like Cameron's really struggling for some rear grip. And Edwards is probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest, drivers to get around between the SRL and IRL leagues. He is very good at making his car very wide. You see Sandro Dulius now has gotten around Jure Marusic. I'm sorry, that is Dion Stahl and Jure Marusic fighting for the for 6th place. Sandro Dulius is now starting to come into picture in the background. Oh, and you see just a little bit of snap oversteer from the Sahara Force India. So a lot of these guys are struggling for rear grip. You see Lewis Marshall sets the fastest race lap already. Lap 3, 1:41. The DRS has now been enabled. And look at this. Oh my, Dion Stahl is back and forth. And then he's going to give up the position now to Jure Marusic. Dion Stahl was all over the course coming out of that last corner. Got a little throttle happy. The back end kicked out. Gave up the position. We check back up front with the battle for second. Now this is Nick Van Gelder and the factory Renault all over the back of René van der Staap. He's got the DRS slot open. That should help him at the end of the stretch here. But look at the power of that Mercedes. Van Gelder deep on the brakes. He's going to end up making a little bit of contact with him. Oh, and they're going to swap sides. He's going to try a crossover move. Couldn't make it stick. He's got the DRS slot open again. Rennie is going to take the more defensive line and try and make Van Gelder go the long way around. It's not going to work here going through this quick left-right exchange. Oh, and you take a look back there, and that's Louis Quinlan and Cameron Weston Edwards battling for the 4th position still. These two were side-by-side heading into that chicane. And while these two battle it out, it looks like Jure Marusic is starting to close the gap, but Dion Stahl is starting to creep up on the back of him. Jump back up to second now, and we've still got Van Gelder in pursuit of Van der Staap. And a 3-second time penalty now for Nick Van Gelder. As he tries to dive to the inside. He got a 3-second penalty now for multiple warnings on corner cutting. He will probably serve that penalty, hopefully during his pit stop if he wants to try and stay in contention. Otherwise, right now, 3 seconds would drop him back. Actually, would keep him where he's at, because right now the top 3 are starting to pull away. And Van Gelder is looking very hard to try and find a way around René van der Staap. The Yas Marina circuit is not known very well for its passing. It is a very fast track. It's a very smooth track, but it is not very good for overtaking. You take a look here. He's going to get a good run down into the braking zone. Goes in deep. Look at that big lockup on the left front. He's going to push him to the side. Oh, and look at this. Rennie comes back, does the crossover move, makes it stick. And Van Gelder is still looking for a way around. Again, he's got the DRS slot open. Rennie's going to take the more defensive line. Oh, and he gets underneath of him. They make a little bit of contact, it looks like. He's going to push him wide. They go through the triple apex right-hander. Underneath the bridge now. And Van Gelder is wide coming out of that corner. And again down onto the inside. In the midst of all this, Lewis Marshall has managed to pull out to a 4.2 second lead. As Van Gelder continues to try and find a way around René van der Staap. The battle for 5th has now turned into a 3-way battle with Cameron Weston Edwards, Jure Marusic, and Sandro Dulius, and Dion Stahl. So basically you've got a 4-car battle going on for the 4th spot. DRS slots open. And look at Sandro get a run down the outside. Looks like Marusic is going to take the more defensive line heading down at the end of the stretch. Hard onto the brakes. He runs a little bit wide, but he manages to take the position on the outside of Marusic. Good pass by Sandro. And now Sandro is going to pick up the back end of Cameron Weston Edwards. And again, this is going to be a championship points battle for 4th, as these two are only separated by a point or so in the championship point standings. Oh, and it looks like there was a car that had gone around. Oh, no, Dion Stahl's off. Stahl lost the back end of his car. Cameron Weston Edwards also lost the back end of his car and gave up 2 positions. So they are really struggling. Look at that. Back end kicks out again. He is struggling for grip. And he is... Oh, no! He tried to dive into the pits. And he ends up heading on the end of the pit wall. So this whole lap has come unraveled for Cameron Weston Edwards. And we take a look back up here, and the battle for, it looks like, second has settled. Somewhere in the midst of this, Van Gelder has lost a lot of time to Rene van der Staap. So quite an exchange there. Look, at the back end of his car is... Oh, and around goes Van Gelder. He is now starting to struggle with rear end grip. So a lot of these guys are just tearing up these rear tires. So we'll give you a quick rundown. Lewis Marshall is your leader. He has led since lap 1. 4.2 seconds behind him, you're going to pick up the other Petronas Mercedes, his teammate of Rene van der Staap. We've got a caution in Sector 3. Looks like that's Van Gelder again, and he has lost a position now, and it looks like his tires are absolutely shot. So Van Gelder, who was competing for the second place position, has now dropped back to 5th. That's going to hand 3rd place over to Sandro Dulius, and you see he slides out of the corner. His back end kicks out. Joe Marusic. Oh, we've got another caution in Sector 3. If I had to take a guess, it's Van Gelder. There he is. So unless Van Gelder is having some controller or possibly wheel issues, or maybe the tires really are just that bad, but he had struggled mightily there that last lap. So we'll pick up Sandro Dulius as we continue down the running order, moves him up to 3rd. Jure Marusic is putting in a real good run today with 4th. Dion Stahl, 5th. Van Gelder in and out of the pits. Somehow managed to pull out of the garage, interestingly enough. Louis Quinlan is out on the Super Softs. He has now moved up to 6th place. Cameron Weston Edwards, after his pit stop and losing the back end of his car, he's back out. He's also on the Ultra Softs again. Interesting. He's going to make this probably his 2-stop strategy then. He's not going to be able to run them to the end. And Barcateldo, your championship winner, has gone ghost as his car continues to mosey around in AI. So your closest battle on track would technically be Nick Van Gelder on Cameron Weston Edwards. And they are separated by about 3 seconds. So unfortunate for him. And this is a little bit of a blow to Edwards in the championship points battle, as again he is fighting with Sandro Dulius for 4th in the points championship. Sandro currently running 3rd. Lewis Marshall is just headed into the pits, followed by Sandro. That's going to hand the lead over to Rene van der Staap as he continues to pull away. That is going to move Jure Marusic up into the 2nd place position. You see Lewis Marshall just come out of the pits behind him. And it won't be long Ure very wisely moves out of the way and lets Marshall through. He knows he doesn't have a chance to fight with him. But good for Ure Marusic to move up into third through this pit strategy. He's yet to pit. We're only working lap 8 of 28. But Ure is, I think this is the highest Ure has been all year in the running order. So good for him. Sandro is in and out and is in 4th place. He's about 14 seconds behind Ure Marusic for 3rd. Now Cameron Weston Edwards is starting to creep up on the backside of Louis Quinlan. It's about a 2-second gap to Quinlan for 6th place. So Edwards is not the fastest of drivers, but he is very methodical. And he's made it a point this year to, I think he has finished in the points in just about every race that he's been in this year. He's only had a handful of podiums here in the SRL League, but usually finishes in the points, and that has really helped him to compete for that 4th spot. Sandro, on the other hand, is a little bit faster of a driver, and he's got far more podiums than Cameron Weston Edwards does, but he's also got far more DNFs. So that's the trade-off, I guess. Not to mention that Edwards is tenacious when it comes to trying to get around. Oh, and Nick Van Gelder now is done for the day as he crashed his car in Sector 3. He has broken the left front suspension, so he is done for the day. So he went from competing for 2nd spots to not even finishing the race. We'll pick up Louis Quinlan as he is all over the back of Dion Stahl. We have Super Softs versus Ultra Softs. I do not believe Dion's been into the pits yet, so this tire should be a little bit worn. And you see Edwards there starting to creep into the background, and as I was saying, he is tenacious, Edwards that is, when trying to get around. And here we go. Quinlan's going to try and make the move. They almost touch wheels. Who's going to outbrake who? And Quinlan's going to easily pick up that spot at the end of the straightaway. Nice solid pass for Louis Quinlan to pick up 5th spot. And now Cameron Weston Edwards is going to work on the back of Dion Stahl. Oh, and he dives to the inside. Oh, and he pushes him wide, and around goes Dion. And Lewis Marshall just set the fastest lap. So that might get a little bit of a review. I didn't quite catch the whole incident, but that might get a little bit of a review after the race between Dion and Cameron Weston Edwards. Not sure if there was contact for Edwards to push him off the track. I know he had dived in on the inside of that left-hander. And Van Gelder has officially left the session, and he will pick up another DNF. For his campaign this year. As we continue to watch Cameron Weston Edwards close in on Louis Quinlan. Actually, Quinlan is actually pulling a gap on Edwards. So that is going to be Nick Van Gelder's 2nd DNF of this year. His first one was back in round 13 of Mexico. A race much like this one, I'm sure he would love to forget. So let's reset the running order for you. Rene van der Stapp is your leader as he's yet to pit, but he's heading into the pits now. So he went 10 laps on the Ultra Softs. That's going to hand over the lead to his teammate, Lewis Marshall, who's led most of this race. Ure Marusic is still out on his Ultra Softs, currently running 3rd, and he is going to do another lap. So good for him. He's running high in the order, and it looks like he's going to try and maybe make this a one-stop strategy. If you go 5 seconds behind Ure, you're going to pick up Sandro Dulius. And actually, with that pit stop from Renee van der Staap, that's going to move Europe back up into second spot. Now, Renee van der Staap is out on the soft compound tires. He's definitely going to run those to the end. He should definitely have plenty of life in those tires to run all the way to the end of this race on lap 28. You see Sandra creeping into the picture there. So these two guys are going to start catching up to Jur Marusic, who is on very worn, ultra soft tires at this point. Ooh, a little bit of a curb hop there. Ooh, another curb hop. So Nick Van Gelder has crashed out, which we saw. Maybe we could get him in here to find out what had happened with him. Again, he was competing for second. And Bart Catelda's got a 5-second stop-and-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which he's ghost, so that wouldn't matter anyways. He's going to end up finishing 8th at this point with the retirement of Nick Van Gelder. And you see here, this is Renee van der Staap, and now Jur Marusic is finally going to pit after that very long first stint. That is going to move Sandro back up into third. So it'll be interesting to see where Jur comes out in relation to the rest of the grid. Looks like he's going to give up a couple spots as we pick up this battle for what is going to be 4th position. This is Cameron Weston Edwards and Louis Quinlan. And Edwards is going to be wanting to get by Quinlan here as soon as he can so he can start his pursuit of Sandro Dulius and help his championship point standings as they battle for 4th. Oh, and a big-time dive bomb. And these two are now bumping and grinding. A little bit of argy-bargy there between the both of them. And Edwards is going to manage to get by, but he's not going to be able to hang on to the spot. It's now a drag race down the front stretch. Edwards has got the more defensive line, shuts the door. Quinlan now, oh, he does a little bit of a curb hop over the sausage curbs. That's going to give up some grip. Three seconds time penalty for Sandro, and now we've got a caution in sector 3. Not sure who that's in relation to. Maybe a quick on-off there. We'll pick up the battle for 4th here real quick again. So Edwards has managed to get by Louis Quinlan, but I don't think Quinlan's done with this fight. He's going to be within DRS range. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's Lewis Marshall is still your leader with a 17-second lead over his teammate, Renee van der Staap. Sandro Dulius is slowly closing the gap to Renee van der Staap for the second spot. We continue to watch this battle on track unfold. And now it looks like Cameron Weston Edwards is now pulled out to over a second, so now Quinlan is outside of the DRS range. He just missed the activation zone. You need to be within a second to get that DRS activated, and he is just floating on the edge of 1.1 to 0.9. And Edwards would love to extend that to get him out of the DRS range so he doesn't have the advantage on the long straights here at the Yas Marina circuit. But now Quinlan has now closed that gap back up to within 0.7. You see the live timing and scoring. It's back outside of 1 second now. down the long run down the backstretch. They get out onto the front stretch, and Quinlan is just outside of that DRS range, so Cameron Weston Edwards keeping him at bay for sure. Take a look at your running order again. Lewis Marshall, who is out leading, which is a nice change of pace for him. This man is the king of disconnect. He's got some massive internet issues for most of this season. He's the only driver, I think, that has more disconnects than DNFs. It looks like his internet is working strong today, and he's out running and leading this race. Rene van der Staap, again, he picked up his first win back in Singapore, round 15, running second. Sandro Dulius has yet to win a race this year, but he has won. He's won in season 2 and season 1 and season 2, but did not win so far this year, and there's a very good chance that he may not with some of these faster drivers. In fact, if you go back to the Abu Dhabi history, back in season 1, it was Sandro Dulius and Eden Newman who were actually fighting for the championship, and that came down to whoever was going to finish in front of the other would win the title. But with 5 laps to go, Eden got by Sandro for P2, and he went on to win the championship by a point, while Alex Benarichetti went on to win that race. And then in season 2, Benarichetti won again, so he went back-to-back. But the story of the race was Sandro and Pedro Mesquita, who was one of the Petronas guys. Pedro Mesquita was fighting for second, and they did a great job. But in the end, it was Sandro that made the last lap pass to take P2 away from Pedro Mesquita. That was season 2. Here we are, season 3, and it looks like Lewis Marshall is going to end up taking this win in dominating fashion. Try and get Nick Van Gelder in here. Nick, if you're listening, you could just join my party. It's not private. You don't need to send me an invite to yours. So Marshall has managed to stretch out his lead to 18 seconds. And Sandro is trying to close the gap down to Rene van der Staap for second place. Working lap 16 of 28. And Sandro is closing that gap. That's underneath of 2 seconds now. You see there, that's how close he is. He's got eyes on him for sure. Was under 2 seconds. It looks like Rene picked up a little bit of time in that second sector. He's now stretched it back out to 2.3. Get a good look at that steering wheel. Too many buttons on the steering wheel. Just like there's too many tire choices. It's all too much. Put these guys in a car and let them drive, see who's the best. Sandro's going to dive into the pits. That'll actually change the... Uh-oh, there we go. Looks like that'll change the complexity of the race a little bit. So Cameron West and Edwards now is going to come out onto the front stretch. Sandro's already out. And this is definitely Formula One's weirdest pit exit underneath the tunnel. And you see Cameron West and Edwards flashes by. Zoom, zoom, zoom. So now you've got a three-way battle for third spot. You got Cameron West and Edwards, followed closely by Louis Quinlan, who is followed right behind him is Sandro Dulius. Look out the back of Quinlan's car. Dulius is going to try and make easy work of these guys. He's got the freshest tires. Be interesting to see now how long Cameron West and Edwards is willing to stay out. Oh no, and they're bumping and grinding again. Oh, there's contact. He saves it. Dulius is going to try and dive. It's going to be 3 wide as they head into that corner. Oh, Dulius throttled out, thought better of it. That almost ended in tears for 2 of the 3 drivers. We got a 3-way battle now for the third spot. We continue to watch this battle unfold. Unbelievable. Oh, and Dulius is going to dive to the inside of Edwards. Couldn't make that stick. And once again, he's going to try and dive down to the inside of this corner. No! Again, the Yas Marina is not known for its overtaking, a very hard track to get around. Quinlan now just picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh, and down on the inside of Edwards. The bang wheels. Edwards is going to come back, push him wide. Oh, a little bit of argy-bargy there. Sandro comes back again real hard on the back end of him. Just a shout out, Nick. If I can get to you, I will. I don't want to interrupt the stream right now. With the action that's going on, it's Edwards. He's going to get pushed by Sandro. Oh, man. Bumping and grinding again. And this ultimately, there's points at stake here. This is for the 4th spot in the championship point standings. We've talked about that a little bit today. And this is how the race has been between these two all year. Oh, and Sandro's back end kicks out. You see the fastest lap is now set by Lewis Marshall. Sandro on a tear. Just can't get around Edwards. Oh, and he gives him the chrome horn just a little bit of bump and run. It's a terrible camera angle around here. Oh, and they both collide. They both hit the wall. And that is going to possibly get a reprimand at the end of the race. And Edwards is going to dive into the pits. Sandro's not going to be happy about that. We'll jump on board real quick, see if we can see. Yep, he's got a little bit of wing damage on that left front. Oh, yeah, and the downforce is gone. You had to hear him get out of the throttle there. You see him making some adjustments on the steering wheel. So that is going to be an interesting conversation between these two. Edwards and Dulius have been racing side by side for quite some time, and it's been quite a year for both of them. But that was probably the most aggressive racing I've seen between the two of them this year, by far. And that includes the SRL, IRL interleague race, where that was full of aggression. Not necessarily between those two drivers, but between leagues. We'll do another grid rundown as Lewis Marshall's going to come across the line to start lap 20 of 28 as this race winds down. He's got a 5.2 second lead over his teammate Rene van der Staap. Sandro Dooley, as we just saw with the wing damage, he has managed to, let's see if he comes into the pits this time around. He is 26 seconds behind, ultimately 30 seconds behind Lewis Marshall, and he is going to stay out. And in the midst of all this, Jurgen Rusic has quietly and methodically worked his way up into the 4th position. That is going to be a great points day for him if he can maintain his spot. Louis Quinlan is in 5th, followed closely by Cameron Weston Edwards. And now there's a 3-second time penalty for Sandro for corner cutting. So Edwards now, we're going to pick up Edwards again in his pursuit. We've got a caution in sector 3. And it looks like that is Dion Stahl, who has managed to hit the wall, turn the car around, and hit the wall again. So a lot of these guys have struggled with rear grip today. Dion will head into the pits and clearly do a wing change. And it's a 5-second stop-and-go penalty for Dion Stahl, so add insult to injury. 5-second stop-and-go penalty for speeding into the pit lane. Curb hop there by Edwards, as he tries to close this gap down to Louis Quinlan for the 5th position. Looks like Edwards has actually fallen off of the pace a little bit here. He's given up about half a second in that last sector. And out onto the front stretch. He's about a second off of Louis Quinlan for 5th. And while the action has subsided for a hot second here, let's take a quick look. He's closing the gap just a little bit. Let's see if we can get Nick Van Gelder in here real quick. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. All right. So, Nick, you should be able to try it now if you're listening. And Nick, if you are listening, he's in the party now. Better want to double check and make sure that you're, well, can't chat with possibly to a NAT problem. I don't know what NAT means. Well, we're having some technical difficulties with the chat. We were going to try and get Nick Van Gelder in here to talk about his crash and his season, but we're having some NAT problems. I don't know what NAT means, but for whatever reason, cannot use the voice chat with Nick Van Gelder, possibly due to a NAT type, so I don't know what that means, but we're working lap 22 of 28 as we continue to watch Cameron Weston Edwards close the gap down to Louis Quinlan now. Oh, and Edwards tried to dive bomb it. Oh, they're battling side by side. A lot of argy-bargy there as a dive bomb move. Edwards getting desperate to try and get around somebody. So we'll try to regroup here real quick. So Edwards tried making the move on Quinlan, and Quinlan wasn't having it. We've got 5 laps to go. These two drivers now have actually closed the gap down to Jure Marusic, which I'm secretly rooting to have a really good day. We've got a caution in Sector 3. I want to take a guess and say it's Dion Stahl again. And Barcatelda is in the pits, and he is still ghost. And we just missed the pass from Edwards on Quinlan. Silly me for trying to switch for the sector flag. I don't think Quinlan is done with Edwards. These two have been going at it most of this race. And now look at this, Quinlan's going to go to the outside, late break. Edwards is going to try and push him wide. Quinlan wasn't having it. Tried to stick with him. And these two are they've now crept up on the back of Jure Marusic. Jure, just keep your head down, let these two battle it out, and hopefully they'll end up making the mistake and not you. But now you've got a 3-way battle for what is going to be the 4th position, and a 3-second time penalty for Dion Stahl. Cutting corners again. Oh, and look at that. Quinlan runs very wide. He's got the throttle down. So now Edwards is in the middle of a Force India sandwich. Quinlan's dropped off in the pace a little bit. Catalda just picked up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Looks like Bart has rejoined the session, albeit just about a lap down. Jure's going to take the more defensive line. Edwards is going to dive bomb him. It's a drag race down to the end of the straightaway. Oh no, and Edwards is going to take the position from Jure Marusic. And it would be wise for Jure to let his teammate through, who is faster at this point. As much as I was rooting for Jure to have a good day, 6th is still better than crashing out. Let Quinlan take the reins and see if he can reel in Cameron Weston Edwards in these closing laps.
Nick means. No, drag means.
And it looks like I can hear.
Oh, hey, I can hear you. I rebooted my PS4, so that has fixed the issue. But thanks for having me here in the commentary box.
Hopefully your settings are set to share, so everybody can hear you on the chat as well.
I think they can. So I'm gonna quickly join the race, so I can watch the last, 3 or 4 laps?
We've got 3 laps remaining in this race. We've got Nick Van Gelder with us. And Nick, what happened to you today? You were competing for 2nd spot, and completely lost the car.
Yeah, it was very frustrating because indeed I was fighting with René van der Stap for second place. But then because I messed up my qualifying a bit and I ruined my laps or my tires in qualifying. So I started on worn tires, and towards the end of my first stint, the rear tires went completely and I hit the cliff and spun out a couple of times. So I went to the pits, and to try and make up for it, I was pushing very hard in the second stint to try to catch back up to the rest of the field. But then I overpushed the car and went into the wall. So it was completely my fault and a very stupid mistake.
And Whip That Trick has joined in to say hey to Mr. Nick Van Gelder as he's continuing to watch the live stream. We're watching the battle here for 4th spot. Quinlan and Edwards have gone blow for blow back and forth here a little bit. And Jure Marusic is not falling off the pace. He's still running 6th and still a part of this fight. He's only a second behind this battle for 4th. So Marusic is, we've got a caution in Sector 3. There's a 3-second time penalty for Bart Catelda. Catelda has managed to rejoin the session after going AI for most of this race. It's not going to matter. He's ultimately going to win the championship by picking up any points today with Francis McGinn being out. And Nick, you joined mid-season. I believe Belgium was your first round, and you've managed to get on the podium a number of times. Do you think you would have had a shot at the championship had you started with us at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, that's a good question. Difficult to say. As Cameron is getting attacked now by Beastie Kids, if I see it correctly. But yeah, it's difficult to say, of course, if I would have been here since the first round. I don't know, because the competition is very strong, of course. Last season on F1 2014, I think that season I missed the first 4 rounds as well, 4 or 5 rounds. And I did manage to win a few races that season, so I think in that season, if I would have been there since round 1, I would have maybe have had a shot at the title. But this season with like Killian Brady, Bart Catelda, Francis McGinn, they are so fast, and I don't know, man. It's difficult to say, but I don't know if I would have had a shot at it. Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know.
We continue to watch this battle here unfold. And
yeah,
it looks
it's
like
a great battle here.
now going to dive into the inside of Edwards.
Yeah, and Jure Marusic is also lurking in the background there.
Yeah, Jure Marusic is having a great run, one of his better runs of the season. It looks like Edwards may have fallen off at the pace here a little bit. He gave up that position quite easily. Edwards is probably one of the hardest drivers to get around in the SRL League. He's making a run back on the inside.
He's defending the inside, side by side into the chicane corner. Cameron has the inside.
And he's going to push him wide.
They go off track.
And here comes Jure Marusic in the back.
Oh, up the inside to the hairpin, yeah. A race of patience for Jure Marusic. He is just watching this battle.
Jure could have possibly tried to take advantage of that, but I think he thought twice.
Yeah. He is watching this battle very nicely behind there. Oh, again on the outside.
Oh, and Edwards takes the more defensive line.
Yeah, he does. He holds the position. Great battle here. It's a final lap. I didn't even realize it.
Yes, Lewis Marshall has just started his last lap. So we will stick with this battle here for the 4th spot.
Yeah, it's not over yet. Certainly not.
You know, and it wasn't that long ago that Edwards had a battle like this with Sam Elvin that ended up ultimately costing Edwards at the end of the race. And Sam Elvin went on to have the drive of his career.
Yeah. The gap is a little bit bigger now, but I think there might be a last lap lunch. Maybe.
I wouldn't put it past anybody. The Yas Marina circuit is so hard to try and make a pass on to begin with.
Yeah, it is. Final corner now. Doesn't look like there's a desperate lunch, but they are very close. But Cameron West and Edwards
so these guys are going to come across. These are good. Now they are going to start their last lap.
Oh yeah, of course they are. So this fight is certainly not over.
Yeah, this is the last lap for these guys as Lewis Marshall continues to run around in first, 17 seconds ahead of his teammate. And oh, Cameron Weston Edwards has left the session.
Oh, damn.
The
What
battle
has
has
happened there
been
then?
settled. I don't know if there's an internet issue there or if he just thought better of it.
Well, I
That'll
don't
be
know.
an
I
interesting
think there's...
conversation after the race, but
Yeah.
I seriously doubt he would rage quit in a fight like
Yeah.
that.
I
So
don't
that
think
is going
that's
to
a
move
rage
Louis
quit.
Quinlan into 4th, and that's going to push Jure Marusic up to 5th.
Yeah, into 5th.
So good for him. That'll be his first top 5.
Yeah,
Lewis
he's gonna
Marshall
make huge gains, you know.
has come across the line as your winner.
Yeah, Jure Marusic, he's gonna make huge grounds in the championship. He's gonna jump up a lot of places.
And Sandro Dulius is going to spread his points gap over Cameron Weston Edwards for 4th spot in the championship. So a good day for Sahara Force India. Cameron Weston Edwards is far enough ahead of Dion Stahl. Dion will pick up 7th spot. And Barcadelda, who had rejoined the race very late, is going to come home 8th. But he's ultimately going to be your championship winner.
Leader. Yeah.
Now it would appear that mathematically Francis McGinn has no chance of clinching this championship. And then, of course, Nick Van Gelder is joining me, which means he did not finish the race, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it. But I actually found the decision by Killian Brady to leave the championship halfway through while he was leading it very interesting, because he decided to like focus on esports. But does he mean F1 esports with it, or? Yeah, I don't really understand that decision.
Looks like Catelda's doing donuts at the start-finish line.
Yeah,
it was definitely a shock decision by Brady to leave for an esports career, and he never did specify if it was something that he was looking to do with Gran Turismo, Project Cars, F1.
Yeah.
It's this guy's personal opinion that the competition was actually starting to get a little too stiff for him, and it's always fun in games when you're the only one winning, but when you've got competition, I think he decided that he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
But, I mean, Barcadelda, definitely made it interesting this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really surprised with Barcadelda, because remember back to last season, he was basically a back marker, and always, at the back of the field, he never really had pace back on F1 2014, and now this season he has suddenly come alive, and he is very, very fast.
The hybrid F1 era apparently suits his driving style with the high downforce and extra power. Yeah. So here is your finishing order. You've got Lewis Marshall is your winner, followed by Renee van der Stapp. Sandro Dulli is picking up another podium finish. Driver of the day, in my opinion, Jure Marusic coming up 4th.
Yeah,
Louis Quinlan is 5th. Cameron Weston Edwards was 6th after his disconnect. Dion Stahl 7th. Barcadelda 8th. And then Nick Van Gelder 9th. And this has been round 19 in Abu Dhabi. So, lots of interesting storylines to be talked about. So round 20 will be in a couple weeks. That'll be the final round. That'll be at Interlagos in Brazil. A proper way to end the season. Your championship winner is Bart Catalda. And this has been round 19 of the SRL League F1 2017 on the PS4 platform. I want to thank Nick Van Gelder for joining me. Be sure to check out his page on YouTube to get some onboard POV views. You can also check out the SRL YouTube page to get all caught up on the news and reviews and check out prior seasons. I want to thank Whip That Trick for checking in on the live chat. Any GTA fans out there, check out Whip's mashups. They are quite hilarious. And you can also check out the obviously the SRL page. That is the Sandro Racing League. While there are many SRL leagues, there is only one Sandro Racing League. So, Nick,
yeah,
are you going to finish the last race at Interlagos?
I hope I will. Interlagos, it's a track I like it very much, so I'm hoping to get a bit of a better result than here in Abu Dhabi. It's a nice track to end the season, of course. It's very yeah, it's, in my opinion, a much better track than Abu Dhabi, and also a much more fun track to drive in terms of the layout and everything.
Yeah, it is a proper F1 track. I think it's a proper way to end the season. And I think Sandra did the right thing by making it the season ender. That or Japan would have been a good choice as well.
I agree.
So,
but also the weather can play a big role as well, of course, in Brazil. And but yeah, I also want to thank you for having me in the commentary box, and also thanks for the shout outs.
Took a little doing, but yeah, we got you in here.
We had some technical difficulties, but for the last 3 or 4 laps, I was able to get in. But yeah, thank you very much for that, and it was a nice experience.
You got it, man. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.